Hey, this is Luis.
And this is Luis, and we are the founders of BIZBROS.
This episode was recorded at a PodMax Propelify virtual event. And if you don't know, Propelify is an amazing event that will take place virtually from October 5th to October 9th, and it's also their 5th annual event.
Propelify historically has gathered over 8,000 people in Hoboken for a single day of talks, tech, pitches, drones, and more. This year, it's a 5-day virtual experience which will have investors speed dating, the Clean Tech Impact Challenge with a $50,000 prize awarded, talks from guests like Al Roker, Andrew Yang, and New Jersey First Lady Tammy Murphy, and tons of networking opportunities.
So, without further ado, let's jump into this special episode with a guest from PodMax and a sponsor of Propelify.
We've got some
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you'd like to learn more on how to turn that content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com.
Yeah, guys, today we have an awesome guest. Another one, of course.
Oh, all the guests are freaking awesome.
All the guests are amazing, guys. And today is actually a topic that we don't know much about, but we are very, very excited and very curious to start learning. So I hope you guys join us for this wild ride.
Before we get started, guys, go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to follow us on social media at BIZBROS.
And if you find this episode impactful, don't forget to share it. And leave a 5-star review as well. Thank you.
Sweet. So buckle up. Blah, blah, blah. All right, here we go. Buckle up. All right, coffee. Hold on. No, I got this, FONZI. I got this. Buckle up because we're in for a wild ride. We partnered with PodMax and Propelify
to share the stories of some of the innovators
it's 4
that are
guys.
shaping the future. People that are taking ideas and making them a reality.
These stories are meant to inspire you to take action and build an epic future.
That is right. This was a rough one for you today,
cool,
my
man.
brother.
I clearly need my coffee.
Today's guest, his superpower is very interesting. It is intrastate equity crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing right there. And you know what? He's actually, and I think this is absolutely amazing, he is proud of his 2 sons. That is the reason he is doing what he is doing.
He's been an entrepreneur for over 20 years now. It has given him the opportunity to work with over hundreds of businesses, which is super cool. You know, he's seen the crowdfunding for the opportunity that it is. You know, he believes this is what's going to help people in this country move forward and create wealth for people that are not part of that 1%.
Yeah, that concept right there, I think it is extremely powerful. Create wealth for people that are not part of the 1%. And you know what? We chat with him. He is fan number 1 of New Jersey. He loves it. He's from there. And, you know, he has this, you're going to see his background. Absolutely amazing. And he is the founder of Crowdfunding NJ. I'm guessing MJ is standing for New Jersey. So we're gonna talk all about it, guys. Please welcome your crowdfunding expert and New Jersey's #1 fan, Mr. Chris Frey. Welcome, Chris.
Hey guys, how are you?
Pretty good. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to dive into this topic that is fairly new to us. But, I mean, we're here. We have you for close to an hour, so we can ask you all these awesome questions.
This is so exciting, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm thrilled to be here, guys.
Thank you for witnessing the craziness of the intro. It's okay. You know, it's like the 4th that we do today. So clearly I need my coffee. So thank you for bearing with us. Now, Chris, share with us in the audience, you know, who are you like? Do you grow up in New Jersey? Is that why you love it so much? And then, you know, what happened that, you know, that caused all this craziness and you know, you landed to do what you do now?
Sure. Let me give you just I'll try and do as quick as I can. Jersey, born and raised. Great-grandfather was a police officer in Newark, New Jersey, which is the city in the background behind me.
Love it.
I've got my business. I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. I've got a contract CFO business. About half work clients are about half tech companies, about half family businesses. Obviously, most of them need funding. Help them there. Turnarounds and workouts. Basically, going in and helping people get their business. There's usually some challenge. We sort it out and move on. As part of that process, I saw that companies, basically SMBs, small mid-sized businesses, have an awful lot of trouble attracting funding. That's no secret to anybody that's tried to start a business.
Yeah.
And that problem got worse after 2008, where we had the financial crisis. So things just were getting worse. Great businesses could not get funding, and they didn't make it. And that bothered me. I saw with the Jobs Act of 2012 under Obama, they put out equity crowdfunding, and that was very interesting. It's sort of a next generation from the Kickstarter, Indiegogo stuff. Followed that for a few years, but essentially the kind of equity crowdfunding I was interested in was where small, mid-sized businesses could raise up to $1 million and anybody could invest. Okay, they had a cap on how much you could put in, so you didn't get in trouble. In the state of New Jersey, that's $5,000. But the whole idea was, let's open this up to let people of not necessarily millionaires now participate in finding the next, Amazons, the next Apples, the next Microsofts. Okay, and that's really the thought. Unfortunately, at the national level, this kind of crowdfunding got too complicated. 685 pages of regs, SEC filings, audited financials. They essentially destroyed the value proposition, in my opinion. But the states got involved, and at this point, there's 34 states that have equity crowdfunding rules, New Jersey being one of them. Just so you know, Florida is also one of them. So
I was about to ask you, Mike, where are we standing here in Florida? Should we be looking into this?
You have the law. I don't have a portal down there, so I can't help you out. But the law is in effect, and I do know that it's starting out. So the purpose in my doing this is really to just start letting people know that this is out there. It's intrastate equity crowdfunding. It's a terrific funding source for a small and mid-sized business. A lot of times these businesses aren't bankable. They can't attract the interest of the private equity community. What do? This is now available. And if you take nothing away from this, and you're thinking of this as being, you got a small business or you have some money you thought you might like to invest, take a look at it. It's a wonderful opportunity, and it's all brand new. So if you haven't heard about it before, and 99% of the people haven't, that's okay.
Yeah, we were definitely in that 99%. I want to clarify that.
100%.
As we were talking behind the screen, I had to ask him like 4 times, like, wait, what? Like, what was that again? Because we didn't know. But I'm super excited, because giving people the opportunity to be a part of the wealthy 1% with these smaller investments, if you want to put it that way, is very unique. It's very, like you're saying, it's new, right? It's a new opportunity for people to start looking into new ideas. And I already have a bunch of questions coming up at here. But I'm wondering, where in your story, your own personal story, what made you turn an eye into investments, right? What made you interested in supporting other businesses? Were you an employee once? Did something happen in that company that made you say, you know what, I want to go into my own venture, and then those struggles maybe turned into how can I help others? I'm super curious. How did it all started?
Yeah, I've got some kind of a classic financial background. I got a CPA. I've been a CPA in New Jersey for over 30 years. I'm now inactive. I've got an MBA from an Ivy League school. I don't need to that. I kind of know my stuff. My last real job, I was a CFO at a small global consulting firm called KPMG, and that was over 20 years ago. And basically, I said, and this was back when the internet was starting to pop, and we saw younger folks with ideas that were getting funded with millions of dollars, and they didn't have a clue what to do with it financially. And that was the core of why I started my CFO consulting business, that's CFO Solutions. And at this point, the consulting CFO, fast forward to today, the consulting CFO business is a multi-billion-dollar service offering that almost any accounting firm provides. So Back when I started it, nobody had heard about it. And I said, what I'm doing, they scratched their head and they say, well, how's that work? Well, come to today, and I think it worked itself out. But really, I saw as I said earlier, I saw this equity crowdfunding opportunity as the result of some of the situations that my CFO clients were in as a result of funding problems that only got worse after the financial crisis back in 2008. You remember that, I guess. You guys are kind of young, so maybe not.
Well, we do.
Yeah.
We were not living in the States at that time. We moved in here in 2010, but we're very familiar with what happened. And
and you say you were kind of like when the internet was starting, so you also lived through the .com crash and all that stuff too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Unfortunately, I got the gray hair to prove all that. But the interest in the equity crowdfunding truly came out of the pain that I saw a lot of my clients and prospective clients in as a result of the financial crisis of 08. And I know Florida had a really bad time after that. I mean, the whole real estate market down there collapsed.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people that lost a lot of money. And honestly, it's never really come back. And as a result of a lot of the rules and restrictions put in place, it's made it even harder for small and mid-sized businesses to get funded. And that's really sort of the core, I call it the crown jewel that came out of the Jobs Act of 2012. And that was opening the door to allowing this to happen. And the rest is sort of history, I guess.
Wow. That's very interesting.
Talk about solving big problems. So So Chris, just so you know, like we talk every single day with small business owners, people starting their own ventures, starting to publish, people wanting to be on podcasts, create their own platforms, right? Because they have movements that they're like just grooming to make a change in the world, right? And one of the things that we talk about big time is sales, right? Because cash is what you need to continue to grow, but this is a perspective and a solution, right? Because people might be really intimidated with sales and different things, and how do I offer my product or whatever, right? But how do I put food on the table for my family, for my team while we develop this machine? And I think this is a great solution. You said it's one of the solutions from your CEO clients. Like these guys were coming to you and we're like, guys, like what do we do? We need to grow. There's different situations that are happening around our business that we cannot control, like the 2008 crisis, right? A lot of people could not control that. That's an external factor. And then here you come with a big solution for these people, right? And I'm providing a new window of opportunity, which is wonderful. So thank you for sharing with that and clarifying. And we're like completely mesmerized, and we're like, we need to be looking into this. Who do we talk to here in Florida? So if you have a contact, Chris, just saying, send it our way.
I mean, that I think that's a good question right there. How, let's say someone right now, small, medium business owner is listening to this and they're like, wow, that sounds just like the solution I need, right? Like, how do they get started? Besides, if they're in New Jersey, obviously contacting you. But what would be the right first step for them if this is a viable solution to what they're doing?
My feeling is that, you look at sort of the sequencing of funding for a new venture or a young company. You start with your own resources. My feeling is the next step would be to do an intrastate equity crowdfunding. I position it when I'm talking to the money guys. I say, look, think of it as a second round of friends and family funding. If the crowd is just an extended family and we're using the portal technology to facilitate the investment, it's a no-brainer. And I said, a lot of times the complaint you hear from the private equity community, which is really the only place that a young company can go, as an aside, I mean, a young company doesn't have the business history to go to a bank. If they went to the bank would want them to collateralize the loan, and then they'd want them to guarantee it. I'm not making this up. I mean, that's sort of, plain operating procedure for a bank. And so for a lot of young, getting started companies, they're not bankable. So you go private equity, the biggest complaint from the private equity guys is, well, these guys aren't quite ready for us, okay? We do seed and series rounds. I said, the only reason they're coming to you is there's no other place to go. Intrastate equity crowdfunding is that place to go. It's a great way to get that next round of funding, get the company a little bit further along in its development. Then if it can, and I estimate that about half the companies that do a crowdfunding are going to need another round of funding. At that point, now you go to the private equity guys, okay? The owners and the management of the company are a lot more mature. They know what they're doing. The business is fundable. It's been validated because they've been funded out in the marketplace. And it's just, there's so many reasons why at that point it makes sense for them to go to the professional funders.
Chris,
as it relates to Florida, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I got to tell you that you are blowing my mind right now. And I want you to also, I want to share this with you so you understand too where we are coming from.
Sure.
Because we come from the direct response marketing world, right? Where what you would call the J curve, right? It's
the Death Star. Like,
yeah, it's like people are like, no, yeah, like no, don't get investing and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it is scary. Don't get me wrong, and we love direct response marketing, everything like that. But for me, this sounds as a very, very viable solution for people that are, scared of maybe going to those private investors, private equity firms, huge VC firms, and getting on a lot of debt, right? A lot of risk, because with those, people investing money into your company, there's a lot of risk involved in that. And what you're telling me right now, it is actually mind-blowing, because I'm like, wow, it's kind of like a middle ground right there where you can start building somehow your business. So, Chris, I don't know if we lost you right here because your image is frozen. So are you still there by any chance?
Are you still with us, Chris?
I think it froze. I think this is about to kick us out like last time. And
yeah,
it's going to kick us back in, guys. But while we get connected back again, we're still here recording. So I want you guys to, if you are part of the direct response marketing world, this is very interesting because the J curve, for those that are not familiar, is when a big firm or someone invests a lot of money. So then you can spend all that money building your system before actually getting sales, right? And that is a very risky way of growing your business in the sense that you're getting a lot of debt.
We got Chris back. We got Chris back.
Yes, I lost you for about 2 minutes there.
It's okay. We're just sharing a little story on on the J curve. For those that are not familiar with the famous J curve.
So Chris, where did we lose you?
You were just talking about the J curve, and then it went blank.
Awesome. So
So I guess the computer doesn't even like the J curve too. So
yeah. So we're saying it is either it seemed like there were extremes, right? Like whether don't get funding and you build your own business with your own resources, or you have to get a huge amount of debt with that funding, right? But what you're talking right now with the interstate equity crowdfunding seems like a perfect middle ground. If I'm being honest, it seems full of opportunity.
No, you're absolutely correct because you're capped at $1 million. So this kind of funding is designed for the company that needs, a couple $100,000, $500,000, up to $1 million. And that was really the target that was, when they set this thing out, they were targeting the small and mid-sized business. This is where we want to play. They saw the need, and now it's up to us to make it happen. So that's so good, man. And I want to share a little bit of our personal story too, like going off of what FONZI was saying. When we started this company about 5 years ago, it was more of like a freelance gig where we're doing work for these guys, and we deal with content on very broad, right? But then last September, about a year ago, I was able to quit my job because we made the decision that this was going to be the full-time thing that we're going to do. So I had this job, which I loved very much, but there was a lot of friction, long hours with both businesses, right? So I'm like, okay, how do we make this happen? So I actually had to go out and raise about $40,000 on a personal loan, with 5 to 6 different banks to get to that amount, because that was the amount that was going to feed me for the next 8 months if we were not able to pick this up, right? So now I'm picking that liability, I guess, on my personal credit or my personal stuff, which I have a family with a kid that we need to feed, right? So for me, it was an opportunity to see hey, I need to make this happen. It was really scary. And I don't think when I share this story, not a lot of people are like, wow, I don't think I would have done that, right? And for me, the pain was big enough and the passion and the drive was big enough for our own company. And thankfully, things went wonderful. And now, we have an awesome team and things have been working really well for us.
But for a lot of people, that might not be an option, right? They might not have good credit to be able to do that. They might not have family members that support that, right? And I think this might be like a really good solution. Like Fonzie said, like a middle ground. We're like, hey, you know, if 40 grand or 100 grand or 200 or whatever, right? And then people believe in your message. How does it work operationally? Like, how does the business go about to do this?
That was my next question. Like, how does that crowdfunding looks for both parties, right? The investor, like, what do they get in return for their investment? And how does it look for the business owner?
I'll be, you know, those are great questions. And the real answers are like very long. So I'm gonna have to give you sort of like, you know,
the bullet point. That's okay. Then we can send people to you and be like, just ask Chris, man. He's the expert. We'll do the teasers here.
What it is essentially it's like a mini IPO. Okay, you always hear about IPOs on Wall Street, and you know, lots of investment bankers and lawyers, and they're putting packages of documents together and they shop it around. It's just like that, but on a micro scale. Okay, what we do, and this is unique to our firm, is we will actually do all the disclosure package stuff, all the investor document stuff. We can help with the marketing, but by law, we're not allowed to get involved in an individual offering. Yeah. And we will actually run the campaign. That's unique to our portal. I don't think there's a portal nationwide that does that, but I thought it was important because most businesses, if they're going to do something like this, they're going to do one. Okay, you're not going to do two, you'll do one. So there's a very unique body of knowledge required to make sure this is right, because it has to be right. Okay, that's the one thing about it. You're dealing with the securities law, you're dealing with, you know, regulatory stuff, and it just has to be right. We know how to do it. And so, you know, that's part of our value proposition. That's part of why you pay us. We put it together. And I say, we will deliver a turnkey equity crowdfunding, and then we'll put your offering up on our portal. And you think of the portal kind of like a retail store where you got the offerings hanging in the window, you know, offering. You click the offering, there's a video, it's about a 2-minute video. All the disclosure documents are right there. You can converse with the issuer, which is really kind of neat. You have the opportunity as somebody that's looking to ask questions and then to have the issuer answer the question.
Yeah.
Wow.
They can only do that on the portal by law, but it's also very unique because in other investment options, there's no contact between the prospective investors, and they call it the quiet period. So you're not allowed to contact the issuer, and so there's no contact. So, but in an equity crowdfunding, you can do that. So you can ask a question, and the guy can answer it. Wow. And it's really terrific because the whole thread is right there on the portal. So as long as you do it on the portal, you're good. And since the whole thread is right there, any other prospective investors gets to read it. So the whole idea is not to be sharing, you know, information with just a few people. You want to share it with everybody.
Yeah.
So I tell people, basically, it's the crowd that's doing the due diligence on the investment opportunity.
Yeah.
And if somebody sees a good opportunity, usually others will also. Sorry, that was a long-winded
answer. That's perfect. But let's take your very specific example, right? In New Jersey, me as a Florida resident, can I invest in a crowdfunding fund there, being in Florida?
Unfortunately, you can't. One of the unique aspects about this is what we're taking. So normally, any kind of a securities offering like this falls under the SEC. Okay. When they wrote the rules back in the 1930s, you know, all stock issuance are basically under the SEC unless there's an exemption. What they did is they put an exemption in place for every state. So all the states have this. If you have a company in your state, meaning in my case a New Jersey company, and all the investors are residents of New Jersey, they do not need to comply with the SEC rules. And that's what we're doing. So for instance, the rules to do one of these in New Jersey are 33 pages, okay? So the rules at the national level, doing a Reg CF crowdfunding, 685 pages.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm good.
You have to file a Form C with the SEC. You have to have audited or reviewed financials. You're going to have legal. It's a mess.
Yeah.
At the state level, all of that, most of that is a much simpler process. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's so awesome.
What does the investor get, right? Like, let's say there's a portal like yours here in Florida for us. Oh, no, let's make it better. We are there in New Jersey, right? Of course. And we decide, and we are working with you, right? And our business goes in your portal, and investors come along. They're like, hey, I want to put $5,000, $10,000 into this company. What do they get in return for their investment?
Sure. We would sit down as part of this process. We sit down with the company. We have several meetings and we work out, well, what is it the offering? Most of the time, the easiest thing to do is to issue a convertible preferred stock. Okay. You have a lot of control. I'm getting into the weeds and I apologize.
It's so good.
Why? I mean, we're being students here, man.
Yeah, we're learning. We love it.
Let's make it happen.
But that's sort of the easiest thing to do. And so what happens is the investor is actually an owner of the stock in the company. Now, you say, well, how much of the stock do you have to give up? Well, we would talk about that. If you thought, let's say you think your business is worth $1 million, and we agree. I say, okay, other similar business look like that, and you want to raise $100,000. So for argument's sake, you basically would be selling about 10% of your stock.
Yep.
Okay, not a large amount, and since it's preferred stock, you can control some of the rights. So, for instance, a preferred stock owner doesn't get to vote. Okay? Mostly preferred stock is non-voting. So that means that all the management decisions and all the control decisions of the owners still remain with you.
Yeah.
Because you guys own all the common stock. And I'm oversimplifying it, but that's why this does make sense for a family business, because you can bring in an investor. They can own, a relatively modest amount of your company, but you still get to make all the decisions.
Yeah.
What you need to provide is some kind of a return to the investor. And that's what I tell you. So look, maybe your preferred stock has a 10% coupon. Think of that as like an interest rate.
Yeah.
You're paying them 10% at some point in the future, because what they're really buying into is that you're going to take that $100,000 and grow your business so that instead of being $1 million company, it's going to be a $10 million company.
Of course.
Absolutely.
That's the whole process. So the fact that you pay a coupon to them of 10%, that's not too, it's a good return. I mean, it's hard to find a place you get 10%. Maybe you give them a little more. And then at some point, you would have the ability to retire that stock. Okay. You make it callable or whatever, or have stock, and the company was worth $1 million. You were successful. You grew the company with their money. It's now worth $10 million. Well, their investment of 10% is now $1 million.
Absolutely.
10% of 10 million is $1 million. So I'm trying to sort of, in a very simple way, how you, an investor, get some return from participating with you.
And I think this is great because we come from the brick and mortar industry. We come from like the small business industry as well, and obviously we come on the marketing side of things, the content side of things, and there's a lot of teaching and learning and indoctrination that we used to have to do with these type of clients. We now transition into a new market, but business owners might not be educated about this because there's a lot that goes into running a small business, right? And then sometimes they're mainly the operator, right? So they're like on the day-to-day operations, they're dealing with hiring, they're dealing with selling, they're dealing with a ton of stuff, right? So this information needs to be out there for these people to learn, right? Because let's say, 5 months ago, right, this would have been a great solution for a lot of people, right? There's people that have capital that have been investing in different places during this economic craziness in the last few months, right? And there's people that have something to gain from those investments, are using them in a smart way in their businesses to keep them going, right? So I think this is a great like middle point for those business owners. And we actually have people from probably like 38 different countries listening to the show, 300 and some cities, right? And I encourage every single one of you to go
and move to New Jersey so you can do this.
Thank you.
I moved to New Jersey and talk to Chris. But no, for real, like you find out something like this because I think this is a great door. Like, how new is this, Chris? Like, has this been going for quite a while now?
The process. Unfortunately, this process took a long time. So the answer is, I mean, I've been since the Jobs Act in 2012. So that's 8 years.
Wow.
But it took 3 or 4 years for it to percolate through the regulatory process at the national level. At which point I said, this is not going to work, and I pivoted and went to the state. And I saw that the states were interested in this, and that New Jersey specifically. And then when I saw New Jersey doing it, I was in contact with the legislatures, and when they started to write the regs, I was in contact with the reg writers, and ultimately it came out. It came out in New Jersey at the end of 2015. It took them about a year to get the regs written, so it was the end of 2016. Then once the regs were out, I could build the portal. I mean, you can't get started on it until you know what the rules are, right?
Yep.
So the portal was built, and I flipped the switch on it 2 years in April. And so we've been up and running here in New Jersey a couple of years. The biggest challenge that I face is people just don't know about it.
Yeah,
and,
it seems so new.
Shame on me, but it's just not. There's only so many hours in the day and days in the week, and I've got my other. I do have to pay attention to my other job because that's what pays the rent.
Yeah.
But,
I want to ask you this.
Wait. Chris, I love all this, and this being fairly new, and I'm sure there are rules about this. Yeah. Oh, man, you know what you need? Content.
I know. We're
educate people, let them know about this opportunity because I'm telling you, Chris, my mind is blown into pieces, and I couldn't be more excited. I think a lot of people need to hear this because it's a great opportunity for a lot of people to, get their business out the door.
Yes, man. Let me ask you a question. How many arrows do you have on your back? And we always we see this image of the pioneer going in front, right? Like just opening the bushes and stuff, and then he's the one that gets all the arrows in the back. And I feel like you're a pioneer in this space. And so, how many? Has it? It could not be easy. What keeps you?
The first guy through the wall gets it first. Well, yeah. So yeah, it's been a very interesting process. There's an awful lot of resistance from sources you wouldn't expect. Then people are, obviously people are suspicious because he's selling me, snake oil or something. And honestly, our industry is more regulated than the private equity guys or even the banking. Okay, because everybody wants to make sure that the investor is taken care of, and particularly in New Jersey. New Jersey, let me be delicate here. New Jersey, they like to make sure that they've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and so it's a very and as a comparison, say to Florida, I think Florida is perhaps a little bit more understanding of small business and whatnot, and New Jersey is too, but there's a lot more hoops to jump through.
Yeah,
and that makes it challenging, and it took a while to get it where we are today, and the timing is, it's time to get the word out. I mean, maybe I'm a year or half a year late in doing this, but it's time. One of the things I'm looking for actually is a VP of sales. So.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
There's some connections that we need to make. We'll talk offline. Obviously, we won't spill the secrets to the audience. So if you want to know, just let us know. No, I'm kidding. No, but awesome, Chris. Honestly, this has been such a wonderful conversation.
Yes. Something
very new to us. We're definitely gonna look into it. I think it's a great solution for a lot of people out there, right? Obviously, I guess our DNA goes against the J curve, but we could have a smaller J curve. That's okay.
No, I
love it, man.
It has been a pleasant surprise, Chris.
Yeah.
I've loved every bit of our conversation. I've been fairly interested in the stock market from a few years back, just looking at it, not really investing anything, but just trying to learn. And the fact that there's an opportunity out here that it looks similar, right? But is for smaller and medium-sized businesses, right, is just absolutely amazing.
Here's the cool part, man. The fact that you are able to get in touch with that business, right? You get to know them, you get to know their story. And a lot of these business owners, small business owners, are very passionate about what they do, and they need the help. They need these person. We've seen it day in, day out. And I'm sure everybody listening right now that owns a business or are starting their own venture, this is very eye-opening. So, Chris, I appreciate you, man, for bringing this message. We need to get this message out there, my man, for New Jersey and for every other state, whatever, if they have something available. But obviously, if you are interested now, go move to New Jersey and talk to Chris. We're going to leave all the contact information. How can people find you, man? How can people connect with you?
Sure. The website is crowdfundingnj.com. Really straightforward. You can click on the info at crowdfundingnj.com comes to me. I'm happy I connect with people all the time. One of the things I've done is for the last 15 years is I've been an entrepreneur in residence at one of the largest incubators here in New Jersey. So, I've been working with young startup companies forever, literally hundreds. And there's very few things that I haven't seen or, have solutions for. And I don't mind sharing. I don't mind talking to people. If you contact me, it might not be immediately, but I do get back to folks, and I'm happy to help if I can.
Amazing.
Hey, Chris, I'm sure we'll stay in contact because we need to have another one of these conversations. It has been amazing.
Chris,
I've enjoyed speaking with you guys. You got a great charisma there. I like that.
Thank you. That is definitely me.
Yeah, I just want to warn people, right? If you guys go on a video call with Chris, study your New Jersey, right? Your New Jersey knowledge, because he has a background with a bunch of New Jersey pictures, and we didn't know. We haven't been there. So he's like, "Do you know where this is?" And we're like, "Oh no, I'm sorry."
We're like, Chicago? Like, no.
We totally failed. So guys, I warn you. Go with your New Jersey knowledge ready to go, because he's gonna ask you some cool questions about it.
Chris, yeah, thank you. Chris, don't leave. We got to say the Hispanic goodbye. But with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and subscribe and follow us on social media at BIZBROS Co.
That is right. And if you find this episode impactful, which I am sure you did, it was mind-blowing. Don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye.